Feminist Mafia with César Vidal and Cristina Seguí. Very good morning, very good afternoon, very good evening, and above all, very welcome here to César Vidal TV and to this journey that we make every week on those filthy miasmas, on that nauseating sewer, and on that putrefying cesspool that Cristina Seguí so correctly described as the Feminist Mafia. Cristina Seguí, who is with us, who will be our guide, and who will help us not to faint in some moments of the broadcast. Good evening, Cristina. Cristina, where are we going today?
Good evening, Mr. César. I do not assure you that I will be the one to faint. If we continue, we cut and a couple of slaps and go ahead, or you resume. Because today we have to admit that you come loaded, even if it is because of an absolutely aberrant fact that we have to comment on, not because we feel like it, not because it is healthy, but because it really supports everything that we have been saying for a long time now. And that is how the associations and the LGBTI collective have become the perfect refuge of impunity, of promotion and financing of real monsters, worthy of dissecting their brains and see what has happened there. Because we have always had a special commitment to the defense of children. And that is above and beyond the fact that some people feel offended because of their sexual orientation or because they belong to certain groups. And we are here today to talk about that as well. We are going to start in a kinder way, kinder, although also worrying, in the sense that today we are dedicating this installment of the Feminist Mafia to bread and soccer, again, which has become a woke tool to sell the socialist dystopia. To sell the socialist dystopia, even if some want to make it a little more transversal, the globalist dystopia agendist of the great international player, former international soccer player, Alfonso Perez, has had his turn to be lynched by the Nazi feminist sect. Vulgarly known in our public and in all my information so as not to be strained as the clam eaters for obvious reasons. To life account of the number of dissatisfied lesbians who hide in this collective. And all for stating a truism that we already commented in the previous program, that anyone can understand, which is that you should earn according to what you generate. Not being, of course, an exception for women's soccer, which is loss-making by definition, and which is supported by the public budget and by what men's soccer earns today, whether we like it or not. Well, that's why they are demanding to remove his name from Getafe's soccer stadium. Another step in the strategy of cancellation and of exemplarization. If this exists today, I come a little thick. More than anything, as a warning to those who have some kind of public responsibility and who understand what can happen to them. And that they understand what can happen to them if they go against certain indisputable truths. And a very important one is that of feminism and feminist tyranny. The ban has been opened by a woman called Sara Hernandez, mayor of Getafe of the Socialist Party, very offended by the player but very fond of keeping quiet for purely political or partisan interests, when her colleagues, for example, hide the rapes of girls under guardianship of certain regions. For purely political or partisan interests, when her colleagues, for example, hide rapes of girls under guardianship in certain regions and autonomous communities, they have never been seen such indignation with this issue. And with this sponsored one of theirs, these sponsored ones, but especially we are going to talk about this broad type or whatever, protagonist of the umpteenth aberration that we have known this week, and one of the many known and harbored within the LGBTI collective. This week we have had this headline the aberrations of Santiago the waiter who raped his baby. He went around the Plaza de España to hunt minos. He had a previous record. He had been arrested in the D for dissemination of child pornography. Until, well, these people have last year a baby, I say these people, this monster and his girlfriend now, in the process of sex change from female to male. And they have their own baby. And they prostituted to perform orgies, to use her pictures and sell them among pedophile web tip channels, and, well, really things that are difficult to even pronounce.
I honestly can't figure out what can be in a person's mind for you to abuse a baby and also prostitute a baby that is your child. I mean, I tell you sincerely, I mean, there are degrees of moral degeneration that I can't get close enough to see exactly what is inside of that child.
I really think it's a good sign that we can't understand it. That to understand it, we would have to be similar to these people. I don't think there is any scientific explanation. Now I can't help thinking, by the way, that those who govern today, in Spain and outside Spain, in all the countries taken by globalists and leftists, think that these people do not deserve punitivism, do not deserve the punishment of the penal code. They believe in the reinsertion of these monsters. They have even defended the sexual experiences of minors with adults.
Ben, let's see. I have my doubts. I sincerely have my doubts about the reinsertion of certain types of offenders. Perhaps because I have dealt with many offenders for professional reasons. Just as I believe that there are people who can be reinserted, there are people who I am very clear that they will not be reinserted in life, nor do they want to be, nor do they wish to be, nor do they aspire to it, or anything else. But regardless of whether they can be reinserted or not, a person who commits this type of crime can be reinserted in life. A person who commits this type of action cannot go unpunished. Or it could be that someone rapes a child, prostitutes a child, and with that, well, but he is going to be reinserted, nothing happens at all. In other words, that is intolerable.
But he did not enter prison in the year of the year. If he had entered prison in the year of the year, he probably would not have had this child.
No, it is true.
I don't know, there are people in charge, there are judges, there are prosecutors, and there are people who make decisions that in the end lead to this kind of monstrosities. We do not know how many more children are victims of these two. I do not know. Not to mention the mother of the poor baby, used as a commodity for the savagery of the parents, and that, it must be said, is the image of a foundation that projects the reinsertion, the insertion in this case, the labor insertion of the trans collective, selling normality, selling social action, while these people, these riffraff, did barbarities to this poor creature, a creature that we have to repeat that the blood of her blood. This subject, let's say her name so that no one forgets it. Her name is Aiden Sequeiro. This trans activist who prostituted her 22-month-old baby, confirming what we have always stated here, and that today it is a crime to be counted in Spain and outside Spain, and that is that pedophile networks and behaviors are commonplace among the progressive left and the LGBTI and feminist political lobbies all over the world. And nevertheless, these facts, of course, are going to receive social condemnation. Let me say moderate. Of course. Very, it's going to be very forgotten or quickly forgotten. It's going to be quickly buried in the media. And of course, it cannot be said, or it is wrong to say, that this guy, although he was a Spanish national, was Venezuelan, of course, increasing the statistics. And that, well, and that here we are talking about a person with a major disorder, important disorder, which is this subject who was in the transition phase to man, or to what they call a man, and that she had a disorder that is prohibited to explore, diagnose, and treat under trans law. And that could have prevented this. I don't know. Well, it only takes a couple of searches on Facebook and Google to see these guys related to this foundation showered with grants, a foundation called the December de Feminista Foundation, whose grants, as we can see here, just go to the page of grants and subsidies of the Treasury. We have done it, any journalist could have done it, exceed 2.5 million in grants